I think what I'm interested in is the fact that, as normally written up, it's as if a great group of philosophers met in Philadelphia, spoke about philosophy for 4 months, and then wrote a constitution after that discussion. And in fact, the rules of debate that they agree on day 3 and 4 completely prohibit that. And they spend 5 months actually doing some very detailed discussion about language. So what I'm going to be talking about is how historians can explore that process using new technology in more detail and make that more obvious to students of constitutional law.
And to students of constitutional law and to constitutional practitioners?
Yes, I suppose I was using student in its very broadest sense. It's very noticeable now that so many people cite the Federalist Papers for the meaning of the Constitution, for the choice of language and so on, even in court documents, when in fact these are really newspaper editorials, albeit extremely good ones, written after the Constitution was written. What I'm hoping to do is make the records of the Convention itself much more accessible to practitioners, so that when you want to know what a particular phrase means and why it was adopted, your first port of call will be the minutes of the Convention itself, rather than these later documents, even though they do, of course, inform our judgments as well. No, there's a story told later, but I think even if it isn't literally true, then it does at least capture the spirit of the age, that when the doors of the convention are thrown open, word goes out that they have agreed a document, an old lady comes up to Franklin and says, "Well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy?" And Franklin says, "Madam, a republic if you can keep it." There's a history of the American Revolution that is published that same year by a historian called Ramsay, and his final chapter is actually a warning to future generations of Americans that republics are difficult, that politics is difficult, that they must look to all the kinds of issues that we've been talking about today in terms of culture and institution and care, and that you can't take it for granted that a republican or a constitutional government will survive the threats that it will face, and that requires each generation to think about these issues. I'm sure that's right. That was certainly the sense of the early generation of Americans, and I think subsequent generations of Americans have all themselves thought that too, that actually there are things you need to do to keep a republic alive, involving not least, of course, self-restraint that may be guided with a constitution, that are difficult, that require education, discussion, talking, things that go way beyond the institutions that you may have been given by a piece of paper.